Here I've got a 30-year-old Oberheim Matrix 1000 sitting next to a 30-day-old Oberheim OB-X8. And this is just a bit of fun. We're not expecting these to sound the same, but if you're lusting for an Oberheim and can't stretch to the OB-X8 or the OB6, could this be a budget option? Although I do acknowledge that £800 to £900 isn't exactly budget. The Matrix doesn't use the same technology as the older OB-Xa, the OB-X or the OB8. The oscillators are DCO, they're not VCO. It doesn't have discrete SEM filters from the OB-X or the Curtis 3320s that you've got in here and on the OB-Xa, for example. This uses the Curtis 3396 chips, which are essentially a synth voice on a chip, which have got integrated filters and amplifiers, and none of the early Oberheims use these, but it is famous for having its own distinctive and warm tone and being an incredibly powerful little synth. And just looking at this editor here, because that's the only way of showing you what it actually does, we've got two voices, we've got a single filter. This is a 24 dB low pass filter. We've got filter FM, we've got 3 envelopes, we've got 2 LFOs. We've even got these little ramps here that are a little bit like the delay attack envelopes you get on the LFO modulation section on the OB-X8. So there's loads of similarity here, which means we should be able to match the patches. And I'll just load one in. I've attempted to match already. I'll just get my edit buffer so we can see exactly what it looks like. And this is the patch I've used a few times with the OB6 and got in trouble because I didn't match it well, or one was in stereo, one was in mono. So I thought I'd have another go at it with this, and here we go. And I've really tried again to match these as best as I can. The attack on the envelope is slightly different. I think it's a bit more exponential on the Matrix, but quite nice, isn't it? And I have fiddled around with them, and that's about as close as I'm going to get them, I think. If we listen to a single note. Maybe we should make the envelope a little bit longer on that. Maybe just bring the attack up a bit. Maybe a smidge more again. It's pretty good, isn't it? And that's until I start playing them lower down, and that's because the key tracking on the Matrix isn't working perfectly. It doesn't track at 100%, it doesn't track an octave for an octave, whereas it works better on the OB-X8. So as I go up and down the keyboard, it changes it. Let's take the tracking off. And on here, we've got key follow there, so let's try it again. Matrix is definitely giving you the flavour. So the next one I tried is one that's called It's an Oberheim. Group 1, OB-X8, It's an Oberheim. So loaded this, or created it in patch 1. Slight volume difference. I think it sounds a bit more open on the OB-X8. It could just be because I'm not playing these MIDI keys very well. I think you'd have difficulty telling those apart. I've got this in mono, by the way, the OB-X8. Considering it's called It's an Oberheim, it's patch number 1 on the OB-X8, the Matrix is doing it really well. And the Matrix is always in mono. Pretty good again. Let's get the edit buffer on the app and let's bring this cutoff a little bit higher. A little bit more maybe. They're pretty indistinguishable, aren't they? He says, and then one's a lot brighter. Got the keyboard tracking on again. There we go, let's take it off. Cool, and then I tried the Sawyer sound. I've never actually heard the track. Put it onto this on number 14. So that's on the Matrix. The Matrix hasn't got detune. I did put it into this somewhere. Where are we? I think it was group 16. 1, 2. There we go. Oh, this was it. Much louder there. Let's get that edit buffer again. Let's make that decay a little bit longer on the Matrix. And this is the fun of having the Matrix and using an editor. I've got firmware version 1.11 in the Matrix, which is quite an old one. I think it's the last one that Oberheim made themselves. For some reason it's loaded in completely wrong sound. We haven't quite got the top end sizzle on the Matrix. I'm using a different filter type. That will not help. It sounds a lot more like it now, doesn't it? That was the SEM filter. This really doesn't have much resonance in it, this 4-pole on the OB-X8. Try the 2-pole Curtis. Yes, you're getting a lot more top on the OB-X8, sort of much more bright and punchy. If we just check those EQs. Maybe we just need to put more resonance on. Oh, I don't know, they're just different, aren't they? I could try and take another half an hour to get those resonances matched identically, but you know, I think it's easier to get that tone from the X8, or that fullness and richness of tone. So if we bring this down a bit. In fact, should we just be a little bit geeky about it and just listen to the sawtooths and just see what we get? If anything, is the Matrix a little bit brighter? That's going to just over 6K. And the highest I can see on that is 8. So I think the tone on that Tom Sawyer patch was all just about the filters. It's interesting on the OB-X8 that when you play a note repeatedly and it's playing through the voices, it takes that waveform a little bit of time to settle in because of the discrepancy in the tuning. With the DCO on the Matrix 1000, we don't get that. And that's in the rotate mode, which is doing the same as the OB-X8. But to reassign, it'll play the same note over and over, or the same voice over and over, I should say. And you can hear there, that's much more stable. So there are discrepancies between the voices on the Matrix, but it's not the same as on the OB. And if you stick the vintage mode up on the OB, well, it's not actually making that much difference. Yeah, it's making a bit there. And we've got detune on this as well. Let's find that. I think it's at page 11. Nope. Detune. There we go. Let's whack that up. Another nice little thing I thought I would do in this is have a look at these presets, and you can see we've got the OB-X8 presets, which we've also got in the OB-X8. Unfortunately, they don't sound anything alike. So what I've done here is I've replicated the Oberheim XA preset that's in the X8, which is this. I think that one's called Strings 2, and you can see I've put this on 6 voice only. And we get pretty close, don't we? Let's put the other 2 voices on. You can hear the difference when you've got 8 voices. You just don't get as much voice stealing, obviously, and it makes things a little bit smoother between the 2 chords. But that one's called Strings 2, and I've tried to find it in here, and I'm just not quite right. So let's load this. I think this one's it. Wow, hold on, let's turn it down a bit. And I think that's the same one. I've gone through a few of the strings ones, and that's the closest one to that strings 2. But the one I programmed, not identical, but it's an awful lot better, I think, than the ones that come in the presets on the Matrix. I've tried a couple of others as well. So here's me thinking there's a whole load of sounds that I'll be able to compare really easily, and they just don't sound the same. In fact, it makes the Matrix sound really rubbish, to be honest. So we'll leave it at that, I think. OB-X. And I think I could get those a little bit closer if I tried, but the same old story, you can get them close-ish, but not identical. The X8 does have this more lively feel to it with the VCOs, with everything moving around. It's got a bit more openness, a little bit more sparkly. But the Matrix 1000's putting up a really good fight. It's a really nice little thing. And if you are thinking about getting the Matrix 1000 as a budget option, or just because you fancy having a Matrix 1000, it's well worth upgrading your firmware. As I say, this one's got version 1.11 on it, but I have ordered 1.2. And this was written by a guy called Bob Grebe, and it's on the Torntech website in the USA. And if you're in Europe, here's the distributor. And I'd encourage anyone to buy from these guys rather than save a couple of quid on eBay, because the small license fee does go back to Bob, who wrote the firmware, so it's always good to support people that help the community. But even without the latest firmware, as you've seen, you can edit it. You just need a little patience, because if you're doing a lot of things at the same time, it locks up. And there's loads of ways to edit this. This one's called the OB editor, and you can download it here. I'll put all the links in the description. This one's a controller panel, a CTRLR panel, so you need to download the controller software to load that. And this one, which is the one I've been using, is based on the controller software, but it's been packaged as a single app, so it's probably easier to use overall. It's actually designed to use the 1.16 Geeky and the version 1.2, or it's recommended to use version 1.2. This one's really good. It's also got a library, and you can save individual patches or patch banks. But there's also some you can pay for if you want software support, like Patchbase, and there are ones like this for the iPad. And if you want a physical controller, there's a couple available from StereoPing. This one is the budget version for €190 if you're prepared to do a bit of soldering, or €250 if you want them to build it for you. This one can't access the modulation matrix, but this larger version can, and this one's yours for €685. And then there are Alps Machines controllers. Again, you can build it yourself. The Eco kit comes in at €349. But if, like me, it'd take you 6 months to build it, you can pay an extra $149 to have them put it all together for you. And it would be a shame not to edit this thing, as it is deceptively powerful. There's loads of stuff under the hood. Look, we've got the 10-slot modulation matrix. We've got this weird tracking generator. Then you've got different trigger modes for the envelopes, like external, staccato, or always, and you can restart the envelope on the key hit. You've got this free run as well. This is quite mad. So it'll just keep on repeating. So for now, play some notes. It's a delay, attack, decay, sustain, release, by the way, not your standard ADSR. Plus it's got aftertouch and velocity sensitivity. We've got sync, we've got FM, so all in all, a super little synth. So that was just a quick video to show you how they differ. But they are both Oberheims. Anyway, I hope that was of use to somebody somewhere. If it was, please think about subscribing, ring the bell, join me on Patreon, all the rest of that sort of stuff. It really does help to support the channel. It helps me to produce stuff like this. And I'll see you next time.